AITA for embarrassing my sister at her engagement party by uncovering her lies about our childhood. Yesterday was my sister's 25th engagement party. Me and my two brothers. One is 22. Two of us are 21. Have been on the other side of US for the majority of 2023 and didn't think we were going to be there for the party. But plans shifted and we ended up arriving home last Wednesday. Now I'm honestly not sure if I was invited so much as we simply happened to live where the event was being hosted. Because it was held in my parents' house. My sister didn't outright say she didn't want us there. But we didn't see much of her in the lead up. We didn't really know any of the people at the party. So we're going around introducing ourselves to people. Mingling. Doing the party thing. At some point, someone mentions the family photos on the wall and how they were surprised to see a ton of us on the wall when they didn't even know my sister had siblings. This sent me down a whole rabbit hole of confusion. This person elaborated and said she was surprised to see this type of photo on the wall because apparently my sister has told all of her friends that my parents were extreme workaholics. We have a really nice house, so they weren't surprised by that. Just that it felt properly homey and lived in. Once again, I was thrown for a loop. Growing up, our home was the house. We had friends over constantly who were basically like extra siblings. My parents worked the normal amount, and they were home with us as much as possible. We got chauffeured around to sports practices. My parents took the time to get to know all of our friends well, etc. I would even go so far as to say they were more involved in our lives than average. It was my sister who really separated herself from everyone and chose to exclude herself from activities. At some point during this conversation, a few other people overheard, and soon enough there was a decent crowd of her friends around my brothers and I, listening to stories of us growing up that were blowing these people's minds because it's apparently common knowledge among their friend group that our parents were so hands-on. And common knowledge that we even existed. I ended up having a really good time and felt like I made some new friends. After the event, apparently my sister was crying because I embarrassed her in front of all of her friends and that the work she had put in to separate herself from us, golden children, had been undone. AITA? Info. Does "my brothers and I" mean that there are 3 brothers? Your sister is the only girl? She may have had a very different experience growing up than you all did. You say that your parents drove you around to sport events and such. That your house was the house and filled with friends. All your friends? All the guys in sports? Was your sister left out of everything? Was she not into sports so she was isolating herself? I think some soul-searching needs to be done on your part before you start pointing your fingers at your sister. No judgment from me. Just curious. You mention your childhood experiences and that she was trying to separate herself from the golden children when your friends were over. Were hers? Did parents drive to her after school activities? Did she even have any? I see a woman who didn't want her brothers around. If childhood was so great, why not enough info? Not because you have a great childhood. It automatically mean all your siblings have a great childhood as well. It was my sister who really separated herself from everyone and chose to exclude herself from activities. Why does she excluded herself? Is she not athletic like you and brothers? Is she an only girl? Did she have different interests? Did she not have good grades? You also referred you and brothers as the golden children. Does that mean your parents treated you and brothers much better than her? I don't think we have enough info. I would really like to hear your sister's side of this story, because I suspect she's got some bona fide reasons for calling you guys the golden children. Info. We need more info as to why your sister felt this way. Not sure we're gonna get it from you. Obviously. Info. Is it possible that your sister experienced growing up, and your household in general, in a radically different way than you did? Info. Why does she believe you and your siblings are golden children? Info. You never specify exactly what your sister did on a daily basis. Please explain what your sister did while you and your brothers were being taken to your extracurriculars. Nah, I think in all likelihood neither of you had malicious intent and you are both simply telling the story of growing up from your own extremely different perspectives. But you should consider that you don't actually know your sister's side of the story. You assume it's all a huge lie because it doesn't match your experience. But you already acknowledged that she had a completely different experience. You blame her for it. But you do know that her experience of growing up in that house was different than yours. In your eyes she self-isolated. Maybe from her side she felt like she couldn't really be a part of it or wasn't wanted. Her side could be that her mental health was declining badly and her parents were too busy with her little brothers to notice or care. The brain will spin a narrative to justify what you are feeling based on your own experiences. That's just naturally what it does. But be cautious to remember the story you tell yourself isn't reality. And the same is true of the story your sister tells herself. NTA. But you need to really consider that your sister may have had a completely different experience of childhood than you and your brothers. She's got enough of an age difference that it's very possible that your parents were not hands-on with her as she went through things, only to show you and your brothers with attention when you passed the same milestones 3 years later. That difference can be extremely painful for siblings who not only experience the lack of care but also are left to try to explain the difference in treatment. It's very weird that she omitted your existence, but would not be surprising if she felt basically neglected even as you and your brothers felt showered with love. It's possible that she had a different experience than you and your perspective on her childhood is inaccurate. I bet her side of this is way different. YTA. This story is from your perspective. So to you, she lied. But from the story you told, with no additional info, it seems just as likely she might have a different dynamic than you and your parents. And she's not close to you, so she doesn't mention you a lot. Even if I take the worst read on this situation, even if she straight up lied, there's a reason someone would want to shield their family from PPL they chose to have in their life and none of them feel good. E.g., mental illness, insecurity. It wasn't your job to make a show of correcting her in front of all her friends. On a very important and special day you may not have even been invited to. You could have simply said, I feel differently and like my parents were home a lot. But as the oldest, maybe she has a different experience, and then talk to your sister in private. To me, YTA not BC, your opinion is wrong. But BC, you felt entitled to make her engagement event about yourself and your feelings. You could have waited for an appropriate time to have a private convo with your sister about an understandably confusing and potentially upsetting topic for both of you. I think you need to speak with her and rectify things to better understand why she feels this way. If she doesn't want to share, that's her choice, and at least you gave it a shot in a kinder way. YTA none of the info matters honestly. You decided to take over your sister's engagement party that you weren't invited to. That makes YTA. Your sister seems to have a different look on her childhood than you and your siblings do. This is not unusual. My older brother and I have different views of our childhood, and we both agree the baby was spoiled, rotten, and had a way better childhood than we did. You and your brothers were elsewhere. Are you guys often elsewhere hanging out together? Is your sister included when you guys are hanging out? Time to take a look as to why your sister feels the way she does if you care to know. Don't call her a liar until you know what she is talking about. Info. Not really understanding, but I don't think we have the whole story. Sister didn't actually lie because there were pictures on the wall. She couldn't have been trying to pretend she didn't have siblings, right? I don't think letting things naturally unravel over the course of the night is wrong, though it really depends on exactly how it went down, which is a little vague. But clearly something was going on with your sister growing up. She didn't do this for no reason. I think that's relevant. Soft YTA. Why did you feel the need to take the attention? Maybe your sister was ignored by your parents. But IDK seems off. Info. I think we need to hear your sister's side of the story. YTA. Based on your replies, pretty sure it's not our childhood. It's your childhood, and your sister probably has totally different ones. So you made her engagement party all about you. To the point you had all her friends, people that you'd never met, gathered around you listening to stories about you and your brothers, talking about how good your childhood was. YTA, and you sound exhausting. I'll love to hear your sister's side on this.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epic Haircast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.